Welcome, everybody, to the Mrs. R Relevant Draft Podcast. I am not Jim Wickens, but I will be the guest host today, and I am here with the great Brian Maffey, and we are going to be scouting some defensive line prospects. Brian, how are you doing this Sunday morning?
It's early and cold and wet here, so I don't know about how it is for you.
Pretty similar, a little bit warmer, but yeah, we're starting into that fall weather, football season weather.
There you go.
Starting to get there. Any thoughts on this weekend of college football for you?
Another weird weekend, man. It's been a weird season where it's no consistency. Everybody's got like 2 or 3 losses. It's outside of like 4 teams. It's been weird.
Mm-hmm. There's just right now really outside of Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M, I guess. After
And
that,
Oregon.
whatever that game was for Texas
That game
A&M,
was weird.
it's hard to say who's at the top of the league.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's who knows.
I thought we'll get into it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to get the slides on because we do have them.
Right.
But while I do that, the players we're going to be talking about: Cole Brevard from Texas, Santana Hopper from Tulane, Terry Webb from SMU, Gracen Halton from Oklahoma, Keanu Tanuvasa from BYU, Malachi Lawrence from UCF, Mateen Irioba from Wake Forest, butchered that. Then Cashius Howell, the star edge rusher from Texas A&M. So while I figure this out, do you want to get started on Cole Brevard from Texas?
Yeah, sure. So he is a 6-year player. He transferred over. Oops, sorry. He was originally at Penn State, then he was transferred at Purdue, and then he transferred this past year to Texas. We have verified measurements on him: 6'2.5", 348 with 32.5-inch arms. He's only been a starter twice in his career in 2023 and 2024. So this year he's actually a backup technically. I mean, he's playing a decent amount of snaps, but he's still technically a backup. But obviously, of course, we have those measurements. He's a huge guy, but he doesn't look on film like he's this huge, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Out of shape, sloppy guy. I mean, he obviously looks like he could probably lose a few pounds. It probably would help him a little bit with some speed and agility and quickness and stuff like that. But he actually doesn't look too bad for a guy that's 6'2", almost 350. But of course, being 6'2.5", he's got pretty good natural leverage. He gets low and short yardage downs and on the goal line, goal line stands, stuff like that. He can play, I'd say, anywhere from 0 tech to 2 tech. I wouldn't put him too much further. I wouldn't put him at 3 tech or anything like that. I don't think he can do it. He's not quick enough. Because he does lack some explosiveness off the snap. He's kind of slow too, just running in a straight line and that type of stuff. His length is okay. It translates. Obviously, it's decent for his size and playing on the interior. But he does still have trouble separating from blockers. And he can do a little bit better using his length, what length he does have. And but at times his head will get over his skis a little bit. He'll lose balance. For a guy that's so big, he's probably I feel like he's on the ground a little bit more than you want, especially the guys that's gonna be basically a nose tackle. But he showed a few nice things. He actually had a little nice swim move. He actually did it, and it was so good that tricked the blocker. I forget which game it was, but the blocker ended up falling down basically. But obviously not much of a mover, like I said. But it gives good effort. It doesn't hold up to double teams as well as you would like. As for a nose tackle for a guy that's like almost 350, I mean, he holds up okay, but it's not as well as you would like. He tries the bull rush, but he doesn't get much movement. Doesn't really have any bend, but he keeps his legs working. But I did notice that when he gets a chance to build up some momentum, he can get some momentum going. Like when they used him a few times on a TT stunt. When he was a crasher, he actually built up some momentum, got actually a little bit of a push with his power there. But outside of that, he's not really much of a pass rush threat. He does expose his chest a little bit too much. And offensive linemen will get under his pads and they'll push him around. But and he doesn't really have the athleticism, block skills to tackle running backs and to get in the backfield and really tackle any running backs unless they're like basically coming right at him or like within his vicinity. But he can occasionally separate from blockers. But like I said, I think if he lost maybe 20 pounds, it would help his testing, and I think it would help him sneak into maybe the 6th, 7th round. Otherwise, if he stays around his size and stuff like that and doesn't really get in better shape. I have a UDFA grade on him.
Mm-hmm. I agree a lot with what you're saying. I do like some of the aspects he brings as a player, but for me, I either need a defensive tackle who is absolutely stout against the run, will not allow anything, or can give me some value in a pass rush.
Right.
And right now, I don't feel like Brevard, he's good against the run. I wouldn't say he's anything fabulous, as a lot of what you said with double teams and stuff like that. He can be eliminated out of plays. So I'd like to see that improve. And he's just not going to give you much pass rush value right now.
Yep.
So I'd agree a lot with your evaluation. We have a quick actual comment from Newt Western. Shout out for being in the chat. Happens to like his DTs big and sloppy. The next player we have.
That's all you knew.
Mm. So they have a lot. The draft professors chat. There are some people, shout out Big Hank, who are fully bought into Santana Hopper, the defensive lineman from Tulane. Brian, heard a lot of good about him. What are your thoughts?
I'm not on that train with those guys. I don't think he sucks or anything like that. He's not terrible, but yeah. So he started out with App State. He's a 2-year starter. This is his second year as a starter, obviously. He had a few starts in 2023, but this is his second full year. He's 6'2", 265. I think we have it there on the graphic. He obviously he's kind of a tweener. He is kind of small for a defensive tackle, but he's a bit big and kind of squatty for an edge. Of course, he's played kind of both positions. That they've moved him around. Tulane's moving around, and App State moved him around. He played a little bit of both. I believe that App State played a little more interior, but Tulane's playing a little more of both. But he's listed at 6'2". Looks like to me he's probably even 6'1". But he's got a thick build. But his frame looks like he can hold on another maybe 10 pounds. If you wanted to stay on the interior. If you wanted to stay on the edge, if you want to stay on the edge, sorry, I would suggest he probably lose a few pounds. He looks for an edge, he looks a little overweight. But his length is good for his height. I'd say probably in the 32 range, maybe 32 and a half. And of course, being shorter, that helps with leverage, of course, as we talked about Brevard. He's able to get into the blockers' pads at times. He gets some movement with his bull rush. He's actually even pretty slippery when he's on the interior. He can slip between blockers at times, and with just using his quickness and just being smaller than them, he can squeeze through little gaps and stuff. And he does get a little bit more movement on his bull rush than you would think. He got this only 265 on the interior, but it's still not really, I wouldn't call it a go-to move or anything. That's where you think he's going to get a bunch of sacks or pressures from it. He will get some movement, like I said. He'll maybe get a little pressure here and there, but it's not anything I don't think in the NFL is going to make a big difference unless he adds a bunch of weight and adds a bunch of bulk and stuff. But he is pretty quick off the snap. He's shown he can be offensive lineman when they're attempting to reach block. He's been able to get to his spot quicker than them. He'll use an inside-outside fake at times. He'll combine that with a rip, but the rip does need a little bit of work. But the inside-outside fake was pretty good. He'll drive. I also noticed him doing things where he'll drive hard one way and then he'll cut back the other way, almost like a wide receiver. And then swim over the blocker. So he's got some pretty quick feet and able to change direction and stuff like that. And then he's pretty explosive. I would say he's explosive for, if you're counting him as an interior guy, his explosiveness is pretty good. If you're counting him as an edge rusher, I'd say his explosiveness is kind of like average-ish, kind of just okay. He's got a push pull, which I think could be kind of a good go-to move, and he gets good extension on that. I think if he honed it in just a little bit more and just use it a little more often, I think it could be a really good go-to move for him. It's pretty good. But sometimes I notice he does take a little too long to get into his pass rush reps. Sorry. So I think he could quicken that up a little bit. But his lack of bulk on the interior obviously does show up. There's even times I saw tight ends were just blocking him straight up by themselves. And at times, interior offensive linemen are able to just ride him out on the play, out of his gap, when they're able to get their hands on him. If there's times he's able to slip, obviously, through him, but when they're able to get his hands on him, a lot of times he's kind of basically just done. And he'll have some trouble holding the ground and run the game, of course. Again, obviously due to the size. But he's been able to separate sometimes for blockers. But long term, I think he should probably go back to school since he's a redshirt junior. And I think his skill set is a guy that's going to just get moved around regardless of whether he adds weight or loses weight. But I think the best thing for him would be kind of figure out what he's want to be more like specialized in. If he wants to be more of a defensive tackle that plays some edge, or if he wants to be an edge that plays some defensive tackle. He's still development. But if he does come out this year, I think of it as a developmental pick. Probably a fifth round grade, I think. But of course, if he comes out, of course, testing's gonna be important. Because weight comes in, all that type of stuff will be important for him. But yeah, like I said, I think he should go back to school and boost up his stock more.
Mm-hmm. I really couldn't agree more with your evaluation of him. He was one of the players who I'd like highlighted on this list that I wanted to watch the most because I've heard so much good things about him, and I wasn't disappointed by any means. Because you do see a lot of the athleticism that I think it's pretty good. Like I was happy with a lot of that, but it's just for me kind of the size restraints. Like where, like yeah, I guess you move him to edge, but I mean it's kind of like Bernard Gooden that we've talked about a couple weeks ago. It's just the size makes it kind of tough to know exactly where he's going to be. I think going back to school for him, I mean, Tulane's a good opportunity for him. They're competing this year. He's getting spotlight. He's getting a lot more recognition. So I think he should stay for another year. Keep on developing. We'll see what they do with his way, see if they move him somewhere else. But he can be an impact player for them and just give teams more fail on you. Show them that just the size, you can still be a good presence. I think that's going to go a long ways for his draft stock. I'd agree about with your range, around 5th or 6th right now. I do think if he goes back to school and continues to produce next year, cleans up some of the moves, because he does have a lot of moves, but I don't think they're all refined yet. So if he cleans up those, I think he could definitely boost his draft stock for the 2027 cycle. Next player, we have Terry Webb, the defensive lineman from SMU. I can start with this one. I mean, you see it on the screen, 6'3", 313 pounds. He's pretty big and has got pretty good size. And for that, his production's been good this year. He's got 5.5 sacks. So he's been around the ball. He's been making plays. And I'd say he's deceptively athletic. You wouldn't expect someone that big. I mean, you can look at him on screen right now. He doesn't look like he'd be a great athlete, but he is. He's got I liked his burst. I thought it was good. He's got good hand placement, can get low and bull rush someone back. He can collapse the pocket. He's got a pretty compact frame, which helps him do that. It's not very spread out. And his strength is just good. Kind of gets that leverage from being 6'3" and can push back with it. Now, my biggest thing, when I watched him, yeah, he can impact the game. But I just don't see him ever being the premier rusher, being the premier defensive lineman who can take over a game and constantly be making plays. I think he could be a very good rotational player who you could submit and he'll make plays. But I just struggle to see him making a down-to-down impact and being the team or being the player that teams have to account for.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you said. Yeah, so he also, just quick background on him. He started out at Kilgore Junior College, which is kind of a one of the better feeder junior colleges for what's it called, college football, from FBS. And then he went to Texas State, and then of course he's at SMU this year. 3-year starter. Like we showing here on the thing we talked about. He's listed at 6'3". I think he's probably closer to 6'2". But kind of like what you said, he's got a good build. He doesn't have a lot of fat on his body. I don't think, but I feel like his body's built more just like top heavy. But yeah, Greeley's, he's pretty kind of like a sneaky athlete in a way. His feet are really quick. I really like his feet. But he's not really like he's fast, but he's just got really quick feet. Consistently working and pushing the backfield. His ankles are pretty stiff, though. I noticed that. But he does use good leverage. He's got a bull rush. I guess he gets some good push on that as well. I noticed a few times his back pad level can be kind of a little inconsistent. It's not too bad, but I think it's something he can improve on. I noticed a stutter step and a juke on him. Yeah, but he moves pretty well. He can go from gap to gap pretty easily. They'll use him on like stunts and slants and stuff like that. And he looks pretty good in that. He can find the ball. He does a good job finding the ball. It just seems to have one of those guys that can find the ball. Good closing speed in the backfield. He plays hard. He'll even chase some plays down and stuff. I noticed there's one play against Baylor. He went probably 15 yards down the field. Like they went down the field. He chased it down and tackled the I think it was a wide receiver, or maybe it was a running back. But anyway, he just ran his butt off and 15 yards on the field. But he has a stab and a long arm that looked pretty good. Even when they actually even played him on the edge a few times, I noticed that too. He looked not too bad on the edge. Obviously, I wouldn't play him there, but I mean, like, a short yardage down or maybe a play here and there, just throw something different at the offense. You can do that. And he even got a sack on the play too. But he'll get too far into the blockers. Doesn't use his arms enough, like his length. Gets taken out of gaps and moved in the run game more than you would like a guy that's 313, 315, whatever. But he's shown flashes of being able to use his strength. Again, against another game, there was a flashy forklifted back of the offensive lineman. So I was like, oh, okay, so there's something there. It just needs to be more consistent, needs to work at it more. He's played some half man. We like to see it more, and him do a little more, improve a little more, get a little more separation when he does it. I didn't like the pop in his hands. I didn't see a lot of pop from his hands. And SMU used a lot of TT stunts with him, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it was hard to tell sometimes. I don't know if it was him or his teammate, but they kept like running into each other and bumping into each other and stuff. And I'm just like, maybe you guys shouldn't do that much. But he was used, like I said, on the edge a few times, and he showed a nice speed to power there too, even. But again, his pass rush plan does need some more work. But as this season has gone, he's played better. It's gotten better. But yeah, I agree. He's probably a rotational type player that you bring in on, third and long, and you're rotating out your guy or whatever, just to get some pass rush on the field and give him some guys a break, cause some havoc in the backfield and that type of stuff.
Where do you think he'll go? Do you think he'll return to school, or?
I believe he's out of eligibility.
Okay.
Yeah, especially senior, I believe.
Okay.
Or senior, it might even be a 6-year guy. I can't remember, but yeah, he's out.
Do you think he'll get drafted, or do you think he'll be?
Probably late day 3, maybe 6th round.
Okay. We'll move on to Gracen Halton, 6'2", 292 pounds, lineman from Oklahoma. What are your thoughts?
Interesting player. Like it's weird because he's a senior at Oklahoma, so he's out of eligibility because he's played more than 4 games in all the games, so he can't go back. But he has. Sorry, I'm trying to look at my notes. So so entering this past season, he only had 3 career starts, and he's had 3 starts this season. So he has, for a guy that's been there for 4 years and is talked about a lot. Well, not a lot, but sometimes with draft Twitter and whatnot. Doesn't have a lot of starts. It was interesting. I thought he had more, but when I was looking into it, I was like, oh, he doesn't have much. But and he has less than 1,000 career snaps, which I thought was kind of interesting for a 4th-year guy who's played every season. Thought that was weird. But anyway, so onto the measurements. We have verified measurements on him: 6'2" and 1/8", 295 with 31 and 1/8 inch arms. They've played him at edge a few times, but he's an interior guy for sure. And of course, he's obviously undersized. But for being an undersized guy under 300 pounds, he's got a pretty solid build, I would say. Obviously not the biggest guy in the world, obviously, but for sub 300, his build's not too bad. It's pretty good, actually. Obviously, probably be helpful if he added a few pounds, but I don't think he really needs to add much. But I didn't, as an athlete, or as an undersized guy, you would think he'd be a freaky athlete or super quick. It didn't come off as special or elite athlete or anything. I mean, he was good, but not nothing that stood out, at least for an interior defensive lineman. Sorry. That's one thing that stood out to me. It was okay as an athlete, nothing special. But he does come off the snap low. His pad level can be a little bit inconsistent at times. He change direction is okay. He's pretty quick though. He can jump from gap to gap at times. Weirdly enough, they even played him at 0 tech and 1 tech sometimes, but I was like, why? It doesn't make sense. I'm just like a guy like that. But so I don't think he's not going to be doing that in the NFL at least. But he's got some quickness. He's out quick some interior offensive linemen. He shows some explosiveness off the snap when he's asked to shoot to the gaps and try to get to the backfield and stuff like that. But when he's playing the run game, he needs to do a better job of, obviously, with his pad level, dropping his butt down and stuff like that, and anchoring. And there's even a couple snaps I saw where it's kind of interesting. He was able to actually just duck under the blocker. The blocker tried to and just went right under his hands. Went to the back. That was pretty cool. That was pretty nice. It was basically almost like a ghost. But yeah, he does lack power and strength. in the run game. But he generally hold. If you ask him just one gap and hold his one gap, and he's taking on one block, he's okay holding it up. It's not bad. But he'll still doesn't get much movement or anything, obviously. And obviously, if he gets double teamed, he's done for. But he's shown his speed to power when he was playing at edge, and I think he should do it more, but he doesn't use it as much. He gets straight off the ball, like I said. Double teams will neutralize him, but he gives good effort, of course, like I said. Just doesn't show much technically. When they use him at TT stunts, he looked pretty good as a looper when he's able to build up some momentum. He flashed like a little two-hand shuck. I thought looked pretty kind of nice. And he does a decent job of finding the ball and kind of forcing the ball back into his help. His finishing needs a lot of work. He needs to come under control and come to balance better when he's in the backfield trying to make a tackle or get to the quarterback or whatever. He will miss like the quarterback or the running back or what have you. But like I said, I think he could be a solid rotational 3-tech. But his lack of snaps, his lack of play time does kind of show on the film. Like, even though he's a 4-year guy, he hasn't played a super lot. So I think he does need some more development in the NFL. I think you probably draft him and either you quote unquote redshirt him for his rookie year, or he ends up spending a year on the practice squad where he can maybe develop. Like a late day 3 developmental type pick.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. I feel like he's good in a lot of areas, but I don't feel like there's an area that you'll look at and you say, wow, he's exceptional at that. You talked about his mobility. I thought his lateral agility was pretty good. Like, I really liked what I saw there. You said he could jump to get a gap, and I saw that. He's got good awareness. He's can impact the pass game at times. But, I mean, it's what we've talked about before, or what you said really well, is that in the run game, I just don't know what you'll get right now. And I feel like he could really benefit from a year of just NFL coaching, NFL strength training, NFL, all of that. Just give him a year, whether it's practice squad or whatever. Just get him a year to fully develop. If your team drafts this guy, I wouldn't expect him to be going on the first week 1, getting a sack or doing anything like that. He's going to need time to develop. But I do feel like there are some traits there that could make him an intriguing prospect for their team at the next level. Okay, after that, we got BYU's Keanu Tenuvasa, the former Utah Ute who transferred to BYU. Brian, your thoughts?
Yeah, he's an interesting player. I kind of like him, but I kind of don't. That makes sense. So just quick background stuff on him. So I guess this kind of leads into my point. So he's a redshirt junior, obviously at BYU. Like you said, he transferred over from Utah. Listed at 6'4", 300. He looks, I would say on film, he looks about there, maybe a tiny bit less weight-wise, maybe 295, something like that, but he looks around there. But he is also an older player because he is a Mormon and he already did his mission. So I don't have exact date of birth for him, but he's at least 23. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I have his the year he was born is a month, but it's not the date. So he just turned 23 in June. So he's, mm-hmm. If he came out this year, he'd be a 24-year-old rookie. So yeah, he's a 3-year starter. Weirdly enough, they another weird thing about it, BYU plays him at nose tackle. And I don't think he's a nose tackle like at all. Like, I think he's probably more of a 3-tech in the NFL. Like I said, he's got a small. His frame looks like he'd add weight. It looks like he'd probably put on like probably 10 pounds, 15 pounds, maybe. His arms do look on the short side, but he does have some juice coming off the snap. Excuse me. But he comes up with his shoulders will be over ski. Sometimes he'll be a little unbalanced, and interior offensive line will take advantage of that and put him on the ground. But he has been used as a looper and looks pretty good doing that. He keeps working his hands. But he does get pushed around by double teams. Holds up okay to single blocks, but doesn't get much push in the run game. But he does show some flashes here and there of stacking and shitting guys, but it's not consistent at all. Decent feet though, and has a little bit of a bend on him. I thought that kind of surprised me a little bit. But like as moving around, he can be a little clunky at times. I think it's just a technical thing with him. But he does try to bull rush, but he doesn't get much movement with that. Again, that's another thing that needs to be improved. But he did show a club move that showed some potential, but didn't use much. And again, another thing he could improve and use more often. There was one really impressive play you probably even saw it too. Against, I don't know if you watched against Stanford, but against Stanford he actually did a double swim. He swam the he swam the center, and then he just swam the left guard, and then boom, sacked the quarterback like really, really fast. And I was like, oh wow. But then like all the rest of the film, there was like nothing like that. So I don't know if that's something that's there that just hasn't been developed, or if it's just like he got lucky. Because it was Stanford and the offensive line's not that very good. So, but he does try in the run game. He sets a wild base, but he'll get hooked, he'll get moved out of his gap. He doesn't offer much of the pass rusher as a nose tackle. I think, again, like I said, BYU, if they really want to help him, they would move him to 3-tech next year, or 2I or something like that. Get him off the ball like that, and just use him to penetrate and attack. I think that would help him a lot. And then obviously adding some bulk would help, and then just developing his pass rush moves, that would help maximize his skill set the most. So I think, honestly, even though he's an older player, he should go back to school for 1 more year and just, like I said, work on that stuff. And then if he did go back to school for 1 more year and work on that stuff, I think he could be a mid to late day 3 pick. But I think if he comes out this year, I think is a UDFA.
When I was doing my research on him, I was looking at some BYU articles because they were talking about him, and some of them were saying first round hype going into the year, which I didn't hear at all. But multiple of the sites said that, so I was kind of confused when I was watching him. But I mean, my biggest takeaway from that is he should not be a nose tackle. I would love to see BYU use him as anything else, because that's just not what he's going to be. That's just not his best spot. So I would really like to see him being used better. But I do like some of the traits I see with him. You talked about his explosiveness. I feel like he gets off pretty quick and can make plays. He's got juice, as you said.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there just still are some concerns. And that play against Stanford, I didn't watch that game, but I did see it on Twitter. So, I mean, he's got some plays where there's been multiple that he gets in the backfield quickly, penetrates, and makes a play. But those just don't come enough. There's more plays where he's just not making an impact, whether someone gets his hands on him or just gets pushed out against the run. You just want to see him be more consistent and just keep working on some developmental. I feel like the NFL is shying away from these older prospects. I mean, as a Saints fan, you saw it with Tyler Shuck. Different circumstances, but he was a 26-year-old rookie. And the NFL is more, if you get a good 5 years out of a guy, especially with Tanuvasa, who you'd probably pick a later midday to late or day 3, somewhere around there, you will gladly take that. So if he comes next year at 25 years old, you get 5 good years out of him. That's not an issue at that point. So I feel like going back to school is 100% the right move. And I think we just got to hope BYU uses him as not a nose tackle so we can truly see what we got in him.
Yeah.
We got Malachi Lawrence, defensive end from UCF. I can start on this one.
Go.
So I was at KU versus UCF. I'm a student at Kansas, and I went to Orlando to cover that game. And he didn't have any sacks or tackles for loss or anything like that, but he still stuck out to me. I still saw him play, and I was impressed. So I definitely want to get more eyes on him. But he's got good size, 6'4", 250. Honestly, I think he looks a little bit bigger than that to me. I don't know if he did the same to you, but I thought he might be a little bit more. He's got a great motor. That's one of the first things. He does not give up on a play. He will chase something down. He's got a lot of pass rush moves. He uses them pretty oftenly, but I don't feel like any of them are spectacular. I feel like he still needs some development on those. He's shown the ability to use it. I think he's got good length. I don't have exact measurables on the arm. I don't know if you do.
Yeah, I do.
What are they?
35-inch.
Okay, yeah. So he's got good. That's what you like to see. So he's got really good arm length. He's got some bend around the edge. He can win around it. He's got pretty good burst. I don't think his first step is exceptional by any means, but it is good. He's got good athleticism. Some of the things about it, that I don't love is right now he struggles against the run. He's in the territory of him possibly being limited to a DPR. I don't know if I'm there yet because I do see some flashes of him being able to beat a block or beat a gap and penetrate the backfield. But if a defender does get his arms on him, even with his arms length, he struggles to displace it and get back off the block. So you'd like to see that improve. And he just doesn't maintain his gap while in the run game. He can sometimes get over aggressive when he sees open space. Just go right there, which causes him to either give up the edge or whatever role he's assigned to not do that. But despite all that, I'm a fan of Malachi Lawrence. I really like a lot what I see with pass rush, and I do think he can be impactful at the next level. I'm not great at grading, but I would give him a day 2 grade right now. I'm a fan of him. I just really need to see the run game improve. We'll see, but I like what I see.
Yeah. So on Lawrence, I have verified measurements. So you're right. He is bigger than that. Verified 6'4" and 1/8, 263. So
Yeah,
you got that there. So yeah, he's a 2-year starter. Like we talked about, you talked about already. Long athletic build. He's, like you said, he's big, but he's not overly big. He's not really stiff either. So he's one of those bigger edge rushers, but he's not, stiff, like I said. There's even times I saw in film that UCF asked him to drop, like zone drop and stuff, and he looked pretty good moving backwards. Obviously, it's not something I would ask him to do all the time. I wouldn't put him at 3-4 outside linebacker and have him drop all the time, but at least, it's something he can do. It helps, adds his versatility. Again, I agree with you. He had good explosiveness off the snap, not great or not elite or anything, but it's pretty good. And one thing I like that they did with him in 2024, I haven't watched every game of his this season, but I haven't noticed it this season. But they used him as like a stand-up A-gap blitzer, and he looked really good doing that. He was explosive and fast. He just blew through the line. I'd like to see them do that more. I think, again, that's something you can have him do in the NFL. I thought his play on the being able to set the edge was okay. And he uses length at times. And they only weirdly line him up at sorry, I can't talk. Line him up mostly as a 2-point stance, which is kind of weird for a bigger edge rusher. So I'd like to see him with his hand under it more. But he'll try and bull his way into the backfield. He's working his legs. He's pretty athletic, like we said. He can enough to cross all the way from, if he's at like 1 C gap, all the way over to the B gap on the other side. So like if he's at the right tackle C gap, he can get all the way over to the left guard B gap. It's shown a little bit of an outside fake, but again, that needs some work. Obviously, he uses his arms. He's got this really long arms, so I mean, yes, he's taking advantage of those. But I noticed his usage of his arms could be a little bit better. I think the timing sometimes and the positioning, like his punch, can be a little better sometimes. But when it's on, when he hits it, it looks really good. And then he has a rip, but it needs to be. I think his timing of that's a little off. He used a little too late. But yeah, like I said, he has some nice bend for a bigger guy. But it seems like on film he thinks he has more bend than he does, because there's sometimes it looks like he's really trying to bend that edge, really trying, and he slips and falls, because he's got good bend for his size, but he doesn't have that bend. So I think it's something he needs to work on, trying to really understand like what his strengths are and not trying to do something he can't do. But yeah, he flashes a spin move that had some potential. It looked pretty good a few times. He lost balance on a couple times, so it looked like it was something he was just trying out, or he had been just recently working on. So if he improves that, I think it looked really good. Just obviously have to not fall. But yeah, I kind of agree with as far as the run game. I feel like his base gets a little too thin. Like his feet get too far together, and then he ends up just stalemating with the odds linemen. But he does show speed to power and able to get on their pads, which I thought was pretty good. But his ability to close needs to improve. His rip timing needs to improve. And then, but I did notice this season he actually developed, which I don't see very often, a fake stab with a long arm rip. So I thought that was pretty impressive. I hadn't seen that really like offhand that I could think of on anybody's film this year. So it could be like a go-to move just because of his length and his ability to use speed to power. Showed two-hand shuck as well. Good playing on the backside. On the backside, I felt like it was good. The effort's there. He'll jump into piles and stuff, so you like that. But again, kind of like you said, his play against the run is just kind of okay. Needs to improve, especially for a bigger guy. Doesn't really make an impact with the run game, like you said. And then sometimes I noticed he did get fooled by some RPOs and fakes and stuff like that. Sometimes it wasn't terrible. It's not something I'm like freaking out about, but you'd like to improve a little bit. And then kind of like what you said, he'll get a little too aggressive at times as the backside guy too. Just he'll get too aggressive and open the door, and the running back or the quarterback will just shoot out this gap he just left. But yeah, I agree. I like this film a lot though, overall. I think I have him as like a late day 2, early day 3 pick right now.
Mm-hmm. Next guy, Qua Russaw from Alabama. You can start this one off. Qua Russaw.
You know what's weird is the list I
I
got from
didn't.
Jim. I didn't have him on the list. Jim
Yeah,
had
I
him.
didn't. Yeah, I was confused when I saw him because I didn't think we had him either. So
No, I didn't
I'm
have
gonna
him on my
skip it.
list. So I don't really have a write up on him right now. But
Here, we want to save that for a future week then.
yeah, sure, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll go over Qua Russaw in a future week. We didn't have that on our list. So
Yeah, I
then
thought he was
Mateen Ibi
next.
Rogba from Wake Forest said that one better than the first. One better. I'll let you start this one off then.
Yeah, let me pull it up here real quick. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Interesting guy. When I looked into him a little more, kind of came out of nowhere in a way this season. He played at Georgetown last couple of years, so it just kind of explains like nobody comes out of Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, but he's a redshirt junior, 6'3", 296. Don't have verified measurements, so that's just what he's listed at. I really liked his build. He's got a really good build, wide body with a thick lower half. Oops, where to go? Sorry, I think I messed up. But he's pretty muscular. He's got long arms. He's got almost like a bodybuilder arms almost. So I was impressed by that. But he can penetrate in the backfield. He's explosive enough to get by some guards off the snap even. He's played up and down the line. He's big, fast, powerful steps. He can even jump some gaps with some ease. Very athletic. Can play from tackle to tackle. He can really generate some force when he gets some momentum going through slants and stuff like that. I even saw there was one play against North Carolina State where he just powered through two blockers. But I noticed that his effort towards end of plays can be a little bit better. Sometimes he seems to kind of like let up a little bit at the end of play if it's kind of away from him or it looks like he's not going to get to the quarterback or running back or what have you. But it's not like terrible. It's just give a little like extra like 2% of effort, but he does have a nice bull rush when he uses it. Has good power in his lower half. He keeps working his hands, and he can even disengage when he gets close to the QB. One weird thing about him is because he's getting a lot of hype from people, but he hasn't started a single game this season, at least so far. And he's only played more than 42 snaps in like one game, so he's a backup. He's not playing a super heavy rotation, but he's getting like 30 to 35 like snaps a game. I think there was even one game he had a little bit less than that, like 20, 25, but around there. He tries to use some bend, but he doesn't show much bend. I noticed he tried to bend once or twice, and he kind of stumbled and lost his balance. He'll get his head and his shoulders over his skis and lose some balance with that too as well. Makes him obviously susceptible to snatch traps. He does end up on the ground a few times or get pushed out of his gap a little more than I would like. He needs to play a little more under control, but he does continue to work when he's impeded by the blockers, even if there are a couple blockers, if he's being double teamed. He has shown a spin move actually that looked like it could be pretty good if it gets a little more development. I feel like his football intelligence is still developing. You see at times where he's just kind of not sure what's going on or what he's doing, what he should be doing. But he does show flashes of having good football intelligence at times and just really good in being able to have a good vision. He's shown some flashes of body strength, being able to torque off his alignment, which was good. But I noticed his play the last few weeks has kind of cooled down a little bit. He's kind of cooled off. He's a player I think should definitely return to school. If he came out this year, I would say probably like a mid-day 3 pick just because of his physical upside and potential.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I couldn't agree more with what you said. He's a redshirt junior right now, so he does have one more year of eligibility. But just for me, his biggest issue is consistency. I would love to see him go back to school. I'm not trying to diss Georgetown football here because I don't know. Maybe they have a great program. But I just think he needs some more development with like the Wake Forest, with something like that. Give him one more year to get better coaching and all that, and then go to the next level. Because, I mean, you said it really well. He's got a lot of flashes. There are plays where he looks really good, where he's got great explosiveness, bull rush, shows moves. So that can get you really excited about him. But they just don't happen enough. And when sometimes he tries them and they're just not great, and he's got too many bad plays in between. So I just want to see him be more consistent. but I am hopeful for if he gets another year of development. Plus, with Wake Forest program just kind of trending up right now, they've had a great year. But I think we could be hearing a lot more about Ibarogba next season.
Yep.
Then I believe this is the final player, but the kind of headliner for today, I guess. We got Cashius Howell, the Texas A&M edge rusher.
Yep.
Very interesting conversation. I'll let you kickstart it.
Yeah, it's the star of the show, or the guy probably everybody's looking to hear what we have to say about him. So yeah, fun player, interesting player. I actually have had him in my database since he was at Bowling Green back in 2022, I think it was. So it's funny and been interesting following his journey, his development, all that type of stuff. So yeah, he's a 2-year starter. He was a starter 2023 at Bowling Green, and then of course obviously starter this year. He was backup last year because Texas A&M had like 5 defensive ends. But yeah, so verified measurements on him: 6'2 and an eighth, 249, with really tiny 30 and 3/4 inch arms. Those for a guy who's as hyped as he is, as much as he's talked about, those would be like outlier of outlier arm length. Usually outlier arm length is like 31 and a half. This is almost an inch less, so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting. But so far actually I did notice between this year and last year, he looks bigger this year. So I think last year he was playing lighter. I think last year was like in the 240 range, 245 maybe. And I noticed the added weight does make a difference between the 2 years. He does seem to have a little more pop in his hands this year. Obviously, like I mentioned, he's undersized with pretty much historically short arms for an edge rusher, for at least a highly rated one. Although I think I noticed on film when watching him, the arms don't seem like they're that short. Like, it's weird. I guess he gets good use out of them, or I don't know how to exactly explain it, but he doesn't play with short arms, I guess is what I'm trying to say, basically. But at times his lack of length does show up, of course, in the run game and stuff like that. He doesn't get completely destroyed in the run game, but he basically usually gets stalemated. Basically has no impact on the run game for the most part. He continues to work at it. He continues to try, but he does most of the time just kind of doesn't get anything going. But he is really explosive off the snap. He can get under blockers' pads, of course. He'll even use the speed to power, and I think that's improved this year, of course, with added weight. He's got a really nice spin move, which he'll string together with he'll use an outside fake and then spin back inside. That one move looked really well. It got a bunch of guys with that one. He used an arm over with a swim. I think that could be a little more improved. But he does use counters pretty well. He'll try to bull rush, but doesn't get much movement with that. But he does he'll do a stab, like a one arm stab, and he gets some movement with that. I think more of that has to just using his body plus his arm, because if you're bull rushing using kind of your whole body, you don't get as much quote unquote length out of it. But playing backside, he's pretty good on the backside. He's aggressive but patient. He'll close the gate with speed. He'll come from the backside. If they don't block him, he'll take down the running back. But I've noticed a few times this year he'll try and use a Euro set, but it doesn't look right. It doesn't look good. I think it needs a lot of work. But he has shown a pretty good dip on the film. He'll use his explosiveness and speed as a looper and stunts. He looks pretty good with stunts when he's able to use explosive speed and just blow through the gap on the guard and stuff like that. But for a smaller guy, actually he has a pretty thick lower body. He has some decent power in it. But again, yeah, and then he'll use a juke. They've even used him at times as a QB spy, and he looks okay doing it. I think he can do it. NFL, he'll probably do it. He has a nice ghost move. I would like to see him use it more. But yeah, his speed and quickness can make it really hard for offensive linemen to maintain their blocks on him. If they don't get a grip on him, if they get a grip on him, it's a lot more trouble for him. But if they don't get a good grip on him, it makes it hard for him to really hold on. But he's a good overall athlete. He was even asked a zone drop, and he moved pretty well at times. He's even got some decent ball skills. There was a play against Arkansas. They actually had him drop, and it was covering a running back, I believe it was, and he was able to track the ball in the air, and he almost picked it off. So that was pretty nice. And so he's got some cover skills. But there was another play in another game I watched where they had him drop, and he was actually a man. I think it was on a tight end, and he just looked lost. So I wouldn't use him in man unless he can learn it. But in zone, he looked okay. But he does have a stutter step, shows some nice bend. He obviously has got some pretty nice bend. I wouldn't say it's like freaky, like elite, like Micah Parsons or Clay Matthews bend, but it's up there. It's really good. And then I did notice something he could clean up is occasionally he'll have a wasted step where he'll drop his front foot back off a snap and then he'll go explode. So that's something he can cut out of his movements. It's not all the time, but it's enough in there that I think he needs to clean it up. But I do think in the NFL, because of the size and length, he'll be basically pigeonholed into playing a 3-4 outside linebacker. I really don't think he's gonna be able to play with his hand under in a 4-3. And he's on a long-term, 90% of your snaps type of thing. But you put him in a 3-4, and I think as a day 2 guy, DPR, who I think maybe can get him, see if he can develop as a run defender. But I mean, at the very least, you can get him as a really good DPR. But I think he can start still. I think maybe just as a rookie, as a DPR, and then after that, he can develop as a starter. The right team likes him, falls in love with him. I think I could see him easily going on day 2.
So it sounds to me like you're a little bit lower on him than the national media, because I've heard a lot of national media first round, even like top 15 buzz.
Yeah, not that high, just because the arm length does worry me. I mean, like I said, it does on film. Like it doesn't seem like it's an issue as far as when he's rushing the passer, but it does show up in the run game, and just it's still one of those things that it's such an outlier thing. It kind of worries you. For me, at least, it forces me to move him down just a little bit. If I was just basing on film, I didn't have his arm length, I would obviously be higher on him. But yeah, it's still something I'm not. It's one of those things where I'm just not sure. He has to be an outlier.
I'd 100% agree with you. He's a beast. He's got, I believe, 11.5 sacks this year. That's up there among all rushers. He talked about his explosiveness, his pass rush moves, his hands. He's got a lot of things that you just love. But I mean, you said he's an outlier. Sometimes it can be fun to bet on an outlier. Like they can be some of the most fun players, and I think Howell is. But it's just a worrisome thing for the arm length. For right now, for me, I agree with your evaluation that it doesn't show up a ton on film right now, which honestly surprised me going into it because that's what's talked about a lot among the draft community with him. So I'm a little bit higher on that because I'm someone, especially like offensive tackle arm length. If it doesn't show up on film, yeah, I can still be worrisome and it's still definitely a point to talk about. But I'm not going to put a ton of stock into it until I can definitively see that it's an answer. If he goes to the Senior Bowl or something like that, and he really struggles against the Caleb Tiernans, people like that, who even Tiernan's got pretty small arm length. So if he can struggle against that, and then the red flags start to go, stock starts to drop a little bit. But I'm not going to put too much stock into that right now. So I would still have him as a first-round player just with how effective and how impactful he can be as a pass rusher. And I mean, going against South Carolina, we talked about the South Carolina Texas A&M game a little bit yesterday. But within the first 2 drives, he had 3 pass breakups because he was in the backfield and jumping up and hitting passes. He had a sack as well. He's impactful and more than just the numbers show. And I think that's huge for a defense. So right now I got him as a round 1, but he's going to be an outlier. I can just see a team falling in love with him and taking the shot. I believe that is all that we have for today. So before we go, Brian, let the people know a little bit about you, where they can find you, and some of the work that you do.
Yeah, of course, you can see if you're watching on YouTube, you see my next thing right there, BMAAFI NFL, or if you're listening audio, well, I spoke it right there. So yeah, just of course on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I usually just call it Twitter. Yeah, I'm on there most of the time, posting clips when I can, when I have time. Talking the draft, of course, talking college football, talking a little bit Packers too here and there. I got my Substack. I'm actually in the middle of writing my article right now. It'll probably be up tomorrow morning, because I have other stuff I have to do later. But I got that. That'll be my stock up, stock down, like a little bit of talk about college football and playoffs and all that type of stuff. Substack is just look for my name. And then of course, every year, last 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. I had to count. I had to think in my head. Last 4 years, I have written for the Cheesehead TV Draft Guide. So you can check that out too when that comes out, probably in I think April. So we got a ways to go for that, but there's that I write for as well.
Mm-hmm. And I'm Drew Collings. I'm a sophomore at the University of Kansas. You can find me on Twitter or X. I call it Twitter normally too. I don't like the word X for it,
I don't get
but
either,
it's
yeah.
at Drew M. Collings. I'm also a writer for a New Orleans Saints site called Who Dat Dish Online. Plus, I have a Saints podcast called The Dome Discussions that you can see once a week. And yeah, so for today we have one more podcast on the Draft Professors. We'll be going over quarterbacks in about 30 minutes at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. So we will be back then. And for the Draft Professors, you can find us every single day posting content. I don't have the exact schedule like Jim does, always says it well, but you can find us every day talking about various positions that you may want to know, covering every draft prospect that we can, all of them in the first 2 days at least.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for this podcast. We thank you for joining, and be sure to join us in about 30 minutes for quarterbacks. I'll be hosting. Thank you, Brian, for joining me today, and that'll be it. Thank you for watching.
See ya.